Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about a book written by Bill Gates, How to Avoid Climate Change. So this book is not a green book. It doesn't talk about the doomsday and the end of the world. He's sharing with us a lot of solutions to cope with this issue of global warming. So Bill Gates doesn't deny that his carbon footprint is probably the worst in the world. He's using a private jet to fly around the world. He's eating beef, consuming a lot of energy. He's a billionaire. So his solution is not to live a frugal life, only eating vegetables and riding bicycle and living like a monk, and then we solve the problem of global warming. That's not what he proposed. He knows that a lot of developing countries will become developed in the future and they need energy. And we cannot expect from 7 billion people in the future 10 billion people to live a life without spending energy. This is impossible. So for example, China has produced more cement in the last 16 years than the US in the last century. Cities like New York are built every month throughout the world. So we need plastic, we need cement, we need glass to construct all those buildings, and this is energy creating a lot of global warming. Even the servers that we're using, the blockchain management of data is very energy consuming, and this is gonna grow exponentially in the next decade. So in conclusion, we need energy, and we need even more energy than we're using today. So the idea to reduce our energy consumption is just wishful thinking. So Bill Gates starts with a very global, big picture. You understand that we are emitting around 51 billion tons of carbon every year, and he explained to us where those 51 billion carbon dioxide is coming from, which area. He analyzed each area and think about some solutions that will enable us to reduce our carbon footprint. So it's the issue is much more complex than what we think. Most of the time when you ask someone, how do you think we can reduce our carbon emission, the first idea that comes to mind is driving less, using public transportation or electric vehicles. And today with the EV cars, everybody is very optimistic that we found the solution for the issue of global warming. But the transportation only comes forth as the main issue of carbon emission. There are so many issues that creates global warming. For example, the animals that we are consuming, the beef and etc., they are producing methane, and methane is 28 times more warming than the carbon dioxide. The agriculture produces nitrous oxide, which is 265 times more warming than the carbon dioxide. And the agriculture produces around 70 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. And we have to produce 1 billion cattle per year for beef and dairy. And those animals, when they fart or belch, they're producing 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. And their poop creates 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. This is the second biggest cause of carbon dioxide emission from the agriculture. So out of this 51 billion tons of carbon dioxide that we are producing every year, only 27% comes from electricity. 31% comes from making things like cement, plastic, glass. 19% comes from growing things, the plants, the agriculture. 16% comes from transportation, so planes, cars, cargo. And 7% comes from keeping us cool and warm, so the climatization, refrigerators, etc. And the food that we waste accounts for 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide. So you can see that a lot of things are interconnected. Electricity with with transportation and agriculture. You cannot just see one side of a topic, because there are many connections between things. The food that you get delivered at home, you have production, you have electricity, you have transportation. So it's not just a simple thing, it's very complex. So according to Bill Gates, if we don't reduce the carbon dioxide by 2050 to 0, the temperature of the Earth is gonna go up by 3 degrees Celsius. So that means that we will have a lot of tsunamis, countries underwater, refugees looking for new countries, a lot of construction that will be destroyed, and we will have to invest much more money and energy to rebuild back those countries, and it will be much more expensive than to find a solution to reduce our carbon dioxide to 0. So the only solution is to move to clean energy. And if we want to convince people to switch from fossil fuels, the cost of this clean energy must be cheaper than fossil fuels. So in fact, there will be two directions. The first one is to innovate, create some breakthroughs that will help us decrease the cost of the clean energy. And the second is the involvement of the government. They will have to put some carbon tax, also push the factories to increase their standard in terms of energy production. The government also have to give some subsidies to the clean energy in order to be competitive with fossil fuel price. So by increasing the cost of fossil fuels through tax and higher standards, and by subsidizing the clean energy solutions, we might be able to come up with a cost that is similar or maybe cheaper for clean energy. For example, the Chinese government, they subsidize a lot the wind energy solutions. So now the wind cost is cheaper than fossil fuels. So why are we so slow into moving to clean energy? The main issue is we have infrastructures based on coal production and fossil fuels. And those factories were created a decade or 2 decades earlier in many developing countries. So we cannot ask them to say, sorry guys, now it's time to close those. Forget about the investment you put on, the billions you invested on this, and switch to clean energy. It is not feasible. So that's the main issue we have today. Is we still have a lot of factories that we can use to create energy, and many countries, they will not be willing to close those factories. The good news is we have already many good solutions that will help us go to the zero carbon emission, but it's not enough. We still have to bring some new breakthroughs. One very optimistic solution is the capacity to absorb the carbon from the air and change it into cement. And cement, as I told earlier, is creating a lot of carbon dioxide, the production of cement. And if we can capture the carbon dioxide from the air and change it into cement, this is going to help us a lot. But the current solutions are too expensive and too narrow in terms of production. We will also have to embrace nuclear energy. And for sure, many countries are worried about the risks. But if we can innovate in terms of safety, nuclear energy will be a part of the solution to zero carbon emission. And you will learn from the book that some solutions that we believe are good for controlling carbon dioxide, in fact, are making the issue even worse. So for example, biofuel, we think it's a green solution, the same as solar and wind, but the problem is biofuel needs fertilizers to grow the corn and the sugarcane that is needed for biofuel. And it also needs land, same for solar and wind. It needs space. And the more space you give to those clean solutions, the less space you have for food production. And once you have less space for food production, the food production cost will increase. So those are some other problems that we need to take into consideration when we think about the clean energy solution. The most promising, according to Bill Gates, is nuclear energy, because it doesn't take a lot of space, it creates a lot of energy, and if it's safe, it might be the best solution we have so far for reducing the carbon dioxide. So the book is very interesting. You have a lot of things that you didn't know. You didn't have the full scope of the issue, and Bill Gates has made a very good work into identifying all the criteria for global warming issues, and balancing the pros and cons of each solution. And from that book, I think you will learn a lot of new things that will help you understand the complexity of the issue. Some key quotes. The solution is not go vegan, which is too much to ask for humans, but to find alternative solutions with plant-based meat or meat cultivated in cells. To produce energy, a solar farm needs up to 50 times more land than a coal-powered plant, and a wind farm up to 10 times more than a solar farm. Innovation is not only about technology. It's about both new devices and new ways of doing things, new business models, new policies, new supply chains. Spend more time and energy supporting whatever you are in favor of than opposing whatever you are against. I will give this book the grade of B+. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on my next video.